Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing, Friday, August 30th, 2024, and getting very, very close to me heading off over to the States. I'm off on Tuesday, which is September the 3rd. So looking forward to that. A little bit of fallout from the Nikita Tszyu and Koa Mazudia card the other night. More specifically, the Michael Zerafa, Tommy Browne situation. It's never a dull moment, is there, in boxing? I thought we'd sort of covered it, but of course there was always going to be some sort of ramifications that happened from the other night. And I'm referring to Michael Zerafa's brother, Jason, who I was going to say punched, but you could probably say assaulted Tommy Browne's trainer, Tommy Mercury. And I did say in my video yesterday that, look, I don't think Tommy Mercury would have been overly bothered by the fight, by the punch. He's one of the hard men of Australian boxing, very well respected and liked in the industry, which is probably why they whisked Michael Zerafa and his team out of the building very, very quickly. So I think what was supposed to have happened was that Michael Zerafa was supposed to go to ringside after his fight to watch Nikita Tszyu and then and Mazudia fight, and after the fight you would think we'd get in the ring and they would maybe start the proceedings, I suppose, of potential Michael Zerafa and Nikita Tszyu fight, possibly next or soon after that. So after all the shenanigans in the ring with Tommy Mercury getting punched by Jason Zerafa, they thought it was best, and because they've got such a big following at the fights up there, being in Sydney, it's Tommy Mercury and Tommy Browne's hometown, they got Michael Zerafa and his team out of there to avoid any situations. And I think that's a smart decision. I think they even went to the point where they actually didn't take Michael and his team back to their regular hotel with everyone else. They actually took them to a different hotel. So it probably goes to show how volatile the situation was and how worked up everyone was. But the ramifications for Jason Zerafa has been that he was immediately evicted from the stadium. So, which is who I think Michael was talking to on the phone after the fight, maybe just seeing where he was and whether he was okay, and got his stuff and he was out of there, and they obviously met up later. But Jason Zerafa has been barred for life by No Limit for the future events. So that's probably about all they could do when you think about it. I know there was talk from people online about the whole Zerafa team should be thrown off, and I don't think that's the case. This is the business, remember. They still need Michael Zerafa as part of their organisations for the time being, with that potential fight there with Nikita. But yeah, as I said, I think that's about the most they could do. Now, there was talk, though, that the police were involved, which was a little bit interesting. I'm not sure whether it's a little bit of, a little bit for show. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure, though, if Tommy Mercury wanted to press charges, then no doubt he could, and it's obviously right there for everyone to see. But I've just got a feeling the police were probably just making some inquiries just to see what happened. The media, of course, being the media, have immediately jumped on it and pretty much made it headline news that the police are now involved. I think they would have spoken to all concerned. And I'm pretty sure Tommy Mercury, I've only met Tommy a couple of times, I would think that he would pretty much laugh it off, shrug it off, and just say, look, let's just get on with things, And let's face it, the punch wasn't hard, although it doesn't need to be hard, it just needs to land, and it did land, no doubt about that. As we saw all over the media yesterday, they had freeze frame shots of it and slow motion replays and all this sort of stuff. And all I'm going to say about it is, Jason, if you're watching, I doubt you are, but maybe just go to the gym a couple of times with Michael, and maybe he might show you how to just a little bit of the shift in the body weight, mate, lining it up. You've got to keep that chin down, and you've got to throw that right hand from the chin and bring it back to the chin, okay? And turn it over. But no, we can laugh about it now, but And as expected, there were statements, there were comments about it all over social media yesterday. So Tommy McCurry actually put out a statement. So he had his say on his social media account, and that's probably why I probably come to the conclusion that nothing will sort of come of it from his end. Michael Zerafa on his page commented that it's all about my brother, but has anyone, or we're not sort of focusing on the fact that Tommy McCurry was the aggressor. Now that was probably the other side of the coin as well, is that, and lots of people divided on social media about it, that a lot of people very critical of Tommy McCurry for actually going at Michael Zerafa. And that, look, they probably do have a point. They have a point. Look, Michael Zerafa did instigate it all to some extent by going over and yelling at Tommy Browne, but there was a little, as you know, there was a lot of build up to it as far as Tommy Browne calling Michael Zerafa a quitter from what happened in Las Vegas. So Michael Zerafa went to centre ring and had his say. I would think for starters that Tommy McCurry was pretty much the same for Michael Zerafa to piss off and go back to his corner and shut up. A very emotional time sometimes in the ring. Emotional things happen. Probably got a little bit out of control because Tommy McCurry was walking towards Michael Zerafa at the time, who was taken aback and did back off, and then of course, and quite rightly so, Michael Zerafa's team has probably thought, well, hang on, what's going on here, especially his brother. And according to his brother, who also commented on social media, he couldn't see that or where Tommy McCurry's hands were apparently. And look, at the end of the day, lots of accusations going everywhere, but that is the fallout that everyone's commented, everyone's made statements. We'll see what happens with the police. As I said, I think they will just drop it and let it just go. But as I said, I do welcome the ban on him from No Limit. But again, that's probably all they could really do. I'm not sure. Well, Michael Zerafa, apart from mouthing off initially to maybe start proceedings, didn't do anything wrong. And how many times have we seen that in the ring anyway? Fighters that have carried on after the fight. So Michael Zerafa, I don't think has a case to answer, and I think everyone's sort of done what they needed to do. The interesting thing for me as well is that, and he hasn't really been mentioned too much, is Glenn Rushton. Now, if you look at Glenn Rushton's body language through the whole thing, he was horrified by the whole thing, and his comments after the fight suggests to me that this will be the last time we see him in Michael Zerafa's corner. I get the feeling from his comments, he did say that, oh, we'll see what happens. I was only brought in as an advisor and a spokesperson, not necessarily a trainer. He was only there because Nonito Donaire wasn't there for whatever reason. I'm not sure if you got a trainer, well, he's your trainer. He should be there for whenever you fight, not pick the big fights overseas. So, but I'm not quite sure what happened there. But his comments after the fight, and even in the ring looking at him, I've watched the replay back, you could really see that he's thinking to himself, what the hell was I thinking getting involved in all this? Because we never saw this with Jeff Horn. Always very clean cut and no dramas with Jeff whatsoever. Very close team. And again, not to say that Michael did anything wrong, but I just think the whole controversy or all the drama and everything that it brings, I just don't think that's what Glenn Rushton signed up for. I think he, being the good guy that he is, probably said to Michael, yeah, no worries, mate, that's cool. You want some help? I'm more than happy to help. That's the kind of guy he is. But as I said, I've got a feeling that afterwards, just the look on his face and his comments afterwards would suggest that that will be the last time we maybe see Glenn in Michael's corner. So anyway, we'll see what happens now with everything. The talk is now that just on that fight, Zerafa and Nikita Tszyu won't be happening this year anyway at all because of an injury to Nikita Tszyu's hand. So I don't think we've got the full diagnosis yet, but it looks like it's the same injury that he had after his last fight. So that'll probably put him out. What are we, the end of August now? So you would think that probably puts him out for 4 to 6 months. So that probably makes it early next year. Now, I don't think that'll bother Michael Zerafa too much He has been known for long periods of inactivity. He's very experienced, very seasoned in the game. So I don't think if the fight doesn't take place until, you know, March or April next year, if it does happen, by the way, that it'll bother him too much. So, and look, I did get a little bit of feedback about my comments about whether, with first of all Nikita's performance and opinions on if the Tszyu Zerafa fight does happen, who wins. Look, I suppose I just want to emphasise I wasn't being critical of Nikita Tszyu as a person or fighter. It was 100% to do with his stubbornness in the ring and his inability to stay on track. That was what I was frustrated about, and I'll re-emphasise I'm a massive fan of Nikita Tszyu. I think he's a sensational young fighter, but I don't back away that his performance the other night was very, very frustrating in that he just refuses to or is unable to readjust, recalibrate and refocus during fights. He gets caught up in wars, and for me it just tells me that it's heading one way, and that is eventually not being as lucky as he has been in some of the recent fights against, let's face it, domestic level fighters. I suppose that's my concern. He's having these wars and you know, these all-out battles, and having to dig super deep against domestic level fighters, and that's just my worry with Nikita. I think, having said that, if he stuck to what he's obviously been doing in training camp, and you know, working with, you know, his brother and obviously his trainer, who's very well renowned, and he's getting these camps overseas and all this great sparring in America and everything else. I think if he stuck to what he's learning and working on in camp, I think he can 100% compete with the international fighters. I suppose my point is, or at the international level, I suppose my point is that if he can't keep his composure during the fight and be able to get back on track when things don't go his way, that's the issue with me, that he won't be able to compete at international level. Because if he trades with someone of an international level like he did with Paro and Haney the other night, well, you know, you just fear that he's not gonna be so lucky. So, but one thing you cannot deny is the fact that the heart that both guys showed. And that's probably one thing I probably didn't focus on enough in my video yesterday. I mean, Nikita said himself he had to go to places that he's never been before, and I think to the point where Igor, his trainer, actually asked him whether he wanted him to stop the fight. That's how drastic things were for Nikita Tszyu. So that just goes to show the you know, the performance from the Paro and Haney as well, and the heart he showed. He had every right to maybe get out, or, you know, turn his toes up a couple of rounds earlier, but this is just not in his DNA, not in his makeup, and as I said, I probably didn't focus enough on that yesterday in my review, but both guys showed just so much heart, and you've got to take your hat off to both guys. And Cole made a point of himself saying that it was only his second fight with his new team. He's with Sam Goodman's trainer now. So he'll get better, and I think there's some good fights out there for him. I do think he has improved a fair bit, even in the last couple of fights. So you know, he's a worry, and I'm sure he'll come back and have some bigger fights. And if I'm being honest too, I'd love to see even Cohen in with Michael Zerafa. You know, so maybe if he does want to get a fight in, let's say Nikita is out of action for 6 months, and maybe Michael Zerafa does want another fight. He's only fought, what, 3 rounds in over a year or something, so it's not like he's been overly active and had a lot of rounds lately. So maybe that could be a fight. You get the feeling that Paro and Haney would get in there tomorrow with someone like Michael Zerafa, wouldn't you? But so that might be an option anyway. But I think there's plenty of big fights out there for Paro and Haney. And we'll see what happens with Nikita and his injured hand, and any other sanctions or whatever it might be when it comes to Team Zerafa. But they're an entertaining bunch, aren't they? That's for sure. Another couple of things before I sign off for today. I didn't mention it yesterday because there was so much to talk about, but the Liam Paro possible fight with Devin Haney. They're talking about it for December 7th here in Australia. Look, I think it'll be a great fight for Liam, a very, very winnable fight for Liam. They're looking at maybe Cowboy Stadium up in Townsville. And I think he was up there on the weekend for, or was it last night or whenever it was, for the rugby league. So maybe they're just starting to plant the seed up there for getting the ball rolling for a potential fight up there. But I mean, at this stage, it's purely just Eddie Hearn just putting it out there just to get maybe a reaction and maybe just start the ball rolling to some extent. I think there's still probably a long way to go, but I think that it's a great fight. And as I said, a very, very winnable fight for Devin, for Liam over Devin. I think he has the style that would trouble Devin maybe a little bit more than George Kambosos. Not to say that George is a better fighter than Liam, but as I say, styles make fights. And I just think that Liam would maybe handle Devin's movement and his speed and just some of his tactics maybe a little bit better than George did. And I think he gives him a great fight. Now, whether that would be, now this is the interesting thing, Devin Haney is a champion in recess, so I'm not quite sure whether he can just reclaim his belt when he wants, because of course Puello has that belt now, so I'm not quite sure what the champion in recess means. I'm thinking it might mean that he just simply gets a shot at Puello whenever he decides to come back. He won't automatically just get his title back when he pleases, so it could quite possibly just be for the IBF belt. But either way, it doesn't matter. I think it would be a great fight, and a great fight for far north Queensland. How awesome would it be? I know they've been up there for Jeff Horn and Tim Tszyu back in the day. It was about 4 years ago. I think that'd be another great step for Aussie boxing to have a world title fight up there in far north Queensland. So plenty happening in that regards. But guys, that is it for Friday, August 30th. Only I think 3 more to go before I'm heading off, and of course I'll keep you all up to date over there with daily videos from all different sites in the States as I lead up to the Canelo Berlanga fight, or end up at the Canelo Berlanga fight in Las Vegas on September 14th over there, September 15th here. So again, guys, have a great day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.